Police in Amherst right now investigating two separate crashes that happened this morning just a couple of hundred yards apart. Both of these accidents were along that dangerous stretch of Niagara Falls Boulevard. And now, as 7 Eyewitness News reporter Ed Riley tells us tonight, one town leader is calling for a change that would force drivers to slow down.
So much traffic, they go so fast, they cut in and out.
A 2.5-mile stretch of Niagara Falls Boulevard north of the I-290 handles roughly 53,000 vehicles every day. With numerous businesses, 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, and multiple lanes, it is a deadly stretch of roadway that has seen 6 pedestrians struck and killed within 5 years.
My little boy and I, he's in a wheelchair. We have not been hit yet, but we've had a couple close calls.
And I almost got clipped 5 times out here now.
This morning, another pedestrian was hit by a car. A 31-year-old man suffered leg and head injuries as he tried to cross mid-block near Creekside Drive around 6:30 a.m.
The real difference maker for him is that the vehicle is only moving 20 miles an hour at best.
Amherst Supervisor Brian Culpa believes this section of road needs improvements to safely handle traffic, pedestrians, bikes, and buses.
The slower the vehicle, obviously, the more likely the survival rate for the pedestrian.
And Culpa believes it is time to start thinking about decreasing the current speed limit.
At the end of the day, it probably ought to be somewhere around 35 miles an hour.
A lack of pedestrian-friendly features result in people crossing where they should not. However, some drivers don't like the idea of slower speeds.
I wouldn't be too happy because I have to take the boulevard to work every day.
35-mile-an-hour speed limit would cause traffic to be backed up all the way down the boulevard.
Earlier this year, Amherst and Tonawanda compiled a safety audit suggesting improvements. But Niagara Falls Boulevard is a state road under the jurisdiction of the state DOT. And state legislators like Assemblyman Robin Schimminger are now calling on the state agency to expedite its response to this matter. The New York State Department of Transportation is conducting its own study looking at safety issues here on Niagara Falls Boulevard. Those results are due next year. In Amherst, Ed Riley, 7 Eyewitness News.